the theory of evolution stands as a cornerstone of modern science, forever altering our understanding of humanity's place within the natural world. Through its lens, we glimpse the grand tapestry of life on Earth, woven from millions of years of adaptation and transformation. As we embark on this epic journey, the very fabric of our existence unfolds before us, whispering secrets of a past that shaped the present. In the lush, verdant valleys of ancient Greece, where the whispers of philosophers once filled the air, a nascent curiosity about the natural world began to stir. It was here, amidst the cradle of Western philosophy, that the earliest seeds of evolutionary thought were sown. The Greek philosopher Aristotle, born in 384 BCE in Stagira, a small town on the northern coast of Greece, would become one of the first thinkers to ponder the mysteries of life's diversity. As he wandered through the bustling markets and observed the varied fauna of the Mediterranean, Aristotle began to formulate ideas about the natural world, laying the groundwork for later scientists to explore the concept of evolution. Aristotle's work, particularly in his seminal text, Historia Animalium, History of Animals, revealed a fascination with the classification and characteristics of living organisms. He grouped animals into categories based on their physical traits and behaviors, recognizing that certain species shared common features, such as the presence of 4 legs or the ability to fly. This early attempt at taxonomy, though not explicitly evolutionary in nature, demonstrated an awareness of the intricate web of relationships within the natural world. As the centuries passed, the torch of curiosity was carried forth by other thinkers, including the Greek philosopher Epicurus, who proposed that life on Earth arose from a primordial soup of atoms, and the Roman naturalist Lucretius, who wrote about the concept of species transformation in his epic poem, De Rerum Natura, on the nature of things. Though these ideas were often shrouded in myth and speculation, they reflected a growing recognition that the natural world was dynamic, with life forms interacting and changing over time. The journey of evolutionary thought would continue through the Middle Ages, as scholars such as Ibn Khaldun, a Tunisian historian and philosopher, wrote about the concept of environmental adaptation and its role in shaping the characteristics of living organisms. In his seminal work, The Muqaddimah, Ibn Khaldun observed that species were adapted to their environments and that this adaptation was crucial for their survival. It is here, amidst this intellectual ferment, that we encounter one of the key figures in the development of evolutionary thought, Leonardo da Vinci. The renowned Italian polymath, known for his breathtaking art and ingenious inventions, also harbored a deep fascination with the natural world. His meticulous observations of fossils' anatomy and the behavior of living organisms would lay the groundwork for later scientists to explore the mysteries of evolution. In the notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci, we discover a treasure trove of observations and insights that presage the development of modern evolutionary theory. He noted the presence of fossilized shells and rocks, suggesting that these formations were once underwater, and marveled at the similarities between human and animal anatomy. Though da Vinci's work was not explicitly focused on evolution, his boundless curiosity and meticulous observation of the natural world helped to lay the foundations for the scientific revolution that would soon transform our understanding of the living world. As the Renaissance continued to unfold, the scientific community became increasingly fascinated with the natural world, and the study of fossils began to take center stage. One of the key figures in this endeavor was Ulisse Aldrovandi, an Italian naturalist who would become known as the father of natural history. Born in 1522 in Bologna, Italy, Aldrovandi spent his life collecting and studying fossils, plants, and animals, amassing a vast collection of specimens that would eventually become the foundation of the University of Bologna's Natural History Museum. His work, particularly in the field of paleontology, helped to lay the groundwork for later scientists to explore the concept of evolution through the fossil record. Aldrovandi's contemporaries, including the French naturalist Pierre Baillon and the German physician Conrad Gesner, also made significant contributions to the study of natural history. Baillon's work on comparative anatomy, as seen in his book L'Histoire de la Nature des Oiseaux, revealed striking similarities between the skeletons of different species, while Gesner's comprehensive catalog of animals, Historia Animalium, provided a detailed description of the diversity of life on Earth. Though these scientists did not explicitly propose evolutionary theories, their meticulous observations and classifications of living organisms helped to build a foundation for later thinkers to explore the concept of evolution. As the 17th century dawned, the scientific community became increasingly aware of the vast array of species that inhabited the natural world. The discovery of new lands and the exploration of previously unknown regions brought forth a torrent of new information about the diversity of life on Earth. One of the key figures in this era was John Ray, an English naturalist who would become known for his work on botany and zoology. Born in 1627 in Blacknotley, England, Ray spent his life studying the natural world, and his book, Historia Plantarum, provided a comprehensive classification of plants that would remain unparalleled for centuries. His work on the classification of animals, as seen in his book, Historia Generalis Plantarum, also helped to lay the groundwork for later scientists to explore the concept of evolution. Ray's contemporaries, including the English scientist Robert Hooke and the Dutch trader and naturalist Antony van Leeuwenhoek, also made significant contributions to the study of natural history. Hooke's work on microscopy, as seen in his book Micrographia, revealed a previously unknown world of microscopic life, while van Leeuwenhoek's discoveries on the diversity of microorganisms helped to expand our understanding of the natural world. One of the key figures in this era was Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist and zoologist who would become known as the father of taxonomy. Born in 1707 in Röshult, Sweden, Linnaeus spent his life developing a system for classifying living organisms that would remain unparalleled for centuries. His work, particularly in his book Systema Naturae, provided a framework for understanding the relationships between different species and helped to lay the groundwork for later scientists to explore the concept of evolution. As Linnaeus's work on taxonomy continued to influence the scientific community, a new generation of thinkers began to emerge, building upon his foundational work. One such figure was Georges-Louis Leclerc, Comte Buffon, a French naturalist who would become known for his comprehensive treatise on natural history, Histoire naturelle. Published in 36 volumes between 1749 and 1788, this monumental work not only showcased Buffon's mastery of taxonomy, but also revealed his fascination with the concept of species transformation. Though he did not explicitly propose a theory of evolution, Buffon's observations on the similarities and differences between species, as well as his discussion of the role of environmental factors in shaping the characteristics of living organisms, laid the groundwork for later scientists to explore the idea of evolution. Buffon's work was soon followed by that of Pierre-Simon Laplace, a French mathematician and astronomer who applied his knowledge of celestial mechanics to the study of the Earth's history. In his seminal work, Exposition du Système du Monde, Laplace proposed the concept of a gradually cooling Earth, which would eventually lead to the emergence of life. This idea, though not directly related to evolution, helped to establish a framework for understanding the Earth's history and the potential for life to arise and change over time. As the 18th century drew to a close, the scientific community was abuzz with discussions about the natural world and the potential for species transformation. One of the key figures in this era was Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, a French biologist who would become known for his theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics. In his book Philosophie zoologique, published in 1809, Lamarck proposed that organisms could pass on traits they had acquired during their lifetime to their offspring, providing a potential mechanism for species transformation. Though his ideas were not widely accepted during his lifetime, Lamarck's work represented an important milestone in the development of evolutionary thought. The early 19th century saw the rise of a new generation of scientists, including Charles Lyell, a Scottish geologist who would become known for his work on the principles of geology. In his seminal book, Principles of Geology, published between 1830 and 1833, Lyell laid out a comprehensive framework for understanding the Earth's history, including the concept of uniformitarianism, which posited that the Earth's geological features were shaped by gradual, ongoing processes. This idea would later influence Charles Darwin, who would build upon Lyell's work to develop his own theory of evolution. One such figure was Charles Robert Darwin, an English naturalist who would become known for his groundbreaking work on the Galapagos Islands and his subsequent development of the theory of evolution through natural selection. In 1831, Darwin embarked on a 5-year voyage aboard the HMS Beagle, during which he would collect numerous specimens and make observations that would later shape his ideas about evolution. The journey of the Beagle took Darwin to the southernmost tip of South America, where he encountered a diverse array of species that would challenge his understanding of the natural world. As he traveled through the Andes, Darwin marveled at the geological formations and collected fossils that would later provide evidence for his theory of evolution. His time on the Galapagos Islands, in particular, would prove instrumental in shaping his ideas about species transformation as he observed the unique fauna that inhabited this remote archipelago. The giant tortoises, marine iguanas, and finches of the Galapagos would eventually become iconic examples of adaptive radiation, illustrating the concept of species divergence and the power of natural selection. As Darwin navigated the uncharted waters of the Galapagos, he began to notice subtle variations among the species that inhabited this volcanic archipelago. The finches, with their distinctive beak shapes and sizes, seemed to have adapted to the unique environments of each island. The giant tortoises, too, exhibited remarkable differences in shell shape and size, which appeared to be correlated with the specific island habitats they occupied. These observations, though not yet fully articulated, would eventually become a cornerstone of Darwin's theory of evolution. Upon his return to England in 1836, Darwin began to meticulously catalog and study the specimens he had collected during his voyage. He consulted with prominent naturalists, including John Gould, who helped him identify and classify the various species of finches and other birds he had encountered. As Darwin delved deeper into his research, he became increasingly fascinated by the similarities and differences between the Galapagos species and their mainland counterparts. He began to suspect that these island species might have evolved from a common ancestor, adapting to their unique environments over time. In 1837, Darwin started a new notebook, which he titled B Notebook, where he began to explore his ideas about evolution in greater detail. He filled its pages with observations, sketches, and notes on the variation of species, as well as thoughts on the potential mechanisms driving these changes. This notebook would become a crucial repository for Darwin's developing theory, as he grappled with the complexities of species transformation and the role of environmental pressures in shaping the natural world. As Darwin continued to refine his ideas, he drew inspiration from the work of other prominent scientists, including Thomas Malthus, whose essay on population had highlighted the struggle for existence that characterized life on Earth. Darwin realized that this struggle, driven by the imbalance between population growth and resource availability, could provide a powerful engine for evolutionary change. He began to see that species might adapt and evolve in response to environmental pressures such as predation, competition for resources, or climate fluctuations. In 1838, Darwin embarked on a series of experiments to test his ideas about evolution. He started breeding pigeons, hoping to demonstrate the potential for species transformation through selective breeding. By carefully selecting and mating individuals with specific traits, Darwin aimed to create new varieties of pigeons that would illustrate the power of artificial selection in shaping the characteristics of a species. These experiments, though not directly related to natural selection, helped Darwin develop his thinking about the mechanisms driving evolutionary change. As Darwin's experiments with pigeon breeding progressed, he became increasingly fascinated by the potential for artificial selection to shape the characteristics of a species. He spent countless hours observing and recording the subtle variations among his pigeons, noting the differences in beak shape, feather color, and body size that emerged as he selectively bred individuals with specific traits. These experiments not only deepened Darwin's understanding of the mechanisms driving evolutionary change, but also provided him with a unique insight into the power of selection to transform species over time. In 1842, Darwin published a paper on the formation of coral reefs, in which he proposed that these complex ecosystems were created by the gradual accumulation of coral polyps on submerged volcanic islands. This work, though not directly related to evolution, demonstrated Darwin's growing interest in the geological and ecological processes that shaped the natural world. As he delved deeper into his research, Darwin began to see the intricate web of relationships between species, environments, and geological processes that underpinned the diversity of life on Earth. The following year, Darwin moved to Down House, a quiet estate in the Kent countryside, where he would spend the next 40 years of his life. This tranquil setting provided an ideal environment for Darwin to focus on his research, surrounded by the natural beauty of the English countryside and the companionship of his growing family. As he settled into his new home, Darwin began to work on a comprehensive manuscript that would eventually become On the Origin of Species. He spent hours each day writing, revising, and editing his work, poring over his notes and observations from the Beagle voyage, as well as the insights gained from his experiments with pigeon breeding. In 1844, Darwin wrote a private essay on evolution, which he shared with only a handful of close friends and colleagues. This manuscript, though never intended for publication, provided a detailed outline of Darwin's developing theory, including his ideas about natural selection, species transformation, and the role of environmental pressures in shaping the characteristics of living organisms. As he refined his thoughts, Darwin began to see the profound implications of his theory, not only for our understanding of the natural world, but also for the human experience itself. The years that followed were marked by intense intellectual curiosity and a deepening sense of purpose. Darwin's correspondence with other prominent scientists, including Joseph Dalton Hooker and Thomas Henry Huxley, provided a rich source of inspiration and critique as he grappled with the complexities of his theory. In 1856, Darwin began to work on a comprehensive treatise on evolution, which would eventually become On the Origin of Species. This manuscript, the culmination of decades of research and reflection, would change the course of scientific history, providing a fundamental framework for understanding the diversity of life on Earth. As Darwin worked on his comprehensive treatise, he became increasingly aware of the need to address potential criticisms and concerns from his peers. He spent considerable time researching and responding to the work of other scientists, including the geologist Charles Lyell, who had expressed reservations about the idea of species transformation. In 1857, Darwin began a correspondence with the American botanist Asa Gray, who shared his interest in the natural history of plants and animals. Their exchange of letters provided a valuable opportunity for Darwin to test his ideas and refine his thinking on the mechanisms driving evolutionary change. One of the key challenges Darwin faced was the lack of a clear mechanism for species transformation. While he had observed the variation among species and the potential for adaptation to environmental pressures, he still needed to explain how these changes occurred at the level of individual organisms. In 1858, he received a manuscript from Alfred Russel Wallace, a British naturalist who had been working in the Malay archipelago. Wallace's paper, On the Tendency of Varieties to Depart Indefinitely from the Original Type, proposed a similar idea of evolution through natural selection, and Darwin realized that he was not alone in his thinking. The coincidence of receiving Wallace's manuscript prompted Darwin to accelerate his publication plans. He had been working on his treatise for over a decade, and he knew that he needed to present his ideas to the scientific community before someone else did. In June 1858, Darwin sent a joint paper with Wallace to the Linnean Society, which was read at a meeting on July 1, 1858. The paper, On the Perpetuation of Varieties and Species by Natural Means of Selection, marked the first public presentation of the theory of evolution through natural selection. The reaction to the joint paper was muted, with few scientists immediately grasping the significance of the ideas presented. However, Darwin's friend and colleague, Joseph Dalton Hooker, recognized the importance of the work and encouraged Darwin to continue writing his comprehensive treatise. Over the next year, Darwin worked tirelessly to complete his manuscript, poring over his notes and observations from the Beagle voyage, as well as the insights gained from his experiments with pigeon breeding. In November 1859, Darwin's book, On the Origin of Species, was finally published. The first edition of 1,250 copies sold out quickly, and the book sparked a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and criticism within the scientific community. The theory of evolution through natural selection was seen as a radical idea that challenged traditional views of creation and the natural world. As news of the book spread, Darwin became an overnight sensation, with scientists and philosophers from across Europe and North America weighing in on the debate. One of the most significant responses, too, on the origin of species came from Thomas Henry Huxley, a British biologist who would become one of Darwin's closest allies. In a series of lectures and reviews, Huxley vigorously defended Darwin's theory, using his own expertise in comparative anatomy to illustrate the similarities and differences between species. Huxley's advocacy helped to establish Darwin as a leading figure in the scientific community, and his support played a crucial role in shaping public opinion about the theory of evolution. As the debate surrounding on the origin of species continued to unfold, Darwin remained committed to refining and expanding his ideas. He spent the next several years responding to criticisms, addressing potential flaws in his theory, and exploring new areas of research. In 1862, he published On the Various Contrivances by Which British and Foreign Orchids Are Fertilized by Insects, a book that demonstrated the intricate relationships between orchids and their pollinators, providing further evidence for the power of natural selection in shaping the characteristics of living organisms. As Darwin continued to refine his ideas, he became increasingly interested in the study of plant biology, particularly the mechanisms of pollination and fertilization. In 1865, he published On the Movements and Habits of Climbing Plants, a paper that explored the unique adaptations of climbing plants such as twining stems and tendrils, which allowed them to ascend and thrive in a variety of environments. This work demonstrated Darwin's growing appreciation for the intricate relationships between plants and their surroundings, as well as his recognition of the importance of adaptation in shaping the characteristics of living organisms. In the same year, Darwin began a correspondence with the German botanist Julius von Sachs, who was conducting groundbreaking research on plant physiology. Their exchange of letters provided a valuable opportunity for Darwin to learn about the latest developments in plant biology and to share his own ideas about the mechanisms of evolution. Sachs's work on the role of light in plant growth and development, for example, helped Darwin to better understand the complex interactions between plants and their environments. As the 1860s drew to a close, Darwin turned his attention to the study of human evolution, a topic that had long fascinated him. In 1868, he began working on The Descent of Man, a comprehensive treatise that would explore the origins of humanity and the mechanisms of human evolution. This project required Darwin to delve into the fields of anthropology, psychology, and sociology, as well as to draw upon his own observations of human behavior and culture. He spent countless hours researching and writing, poring over the work of other scientists and thinkers, including Charles Lyell, Thomas Henry Huxley, and Herbert Spencer. One of the key challenges Darwin faced in writing The Descent of Man was the need to address the sensitive topic of human origins, which was still a subject of intense debate and controversy. Many scientists and theologians of the time believed that humans were created separately from other animals, and that the idea of evolution through natural selection was incompatible with religious doctrine. Darwin, however, was undeterred by these criticisms, and he presented his arguments with characteristic clarity and rigor. In 1871, The Descent of Man was finally published, and it sparked a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and outrage within the scientific community and beyond. The book's central argument that humans had evolved from a common ancestor with other primates through a process of natural selection was seen as radical and provocative by many, but it also helped to establish Darwin as one of the leading thinkers of his time. As the debate surrounding The Descent of Man continued to unfold, Darwin received a visit from the young biologist Francis Galton, who would later become a prominent figure in the development of modern genetics. Galton was deeply impressed by Darwin's work and shared his own ideas about the mechanisms of heredity and variation. Their conversation helped to stimulate Darwin's thinking about the role of inheritance in shaping the characteristics of living organisms, and it laid the foundation for future research into the biology of evolution. In the years that followed, Darwin continued to work on a range of projects, including a study of the emotions and expressions of humans and animals, which would eventually become The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals. This book, published in 1872, explored the idea that certain emotional responses, such as fear, joy, and surprise, were universal across cultures and species, and that they played an important role in shaping human behavior and social interactions. As Darwin's health began to decline in the late 1870s, he became increasingly reclusive, preferring to spend his time at home with his family rather than engaging in public debates or controversies. Nevertheless, he remained committed to his research and continued to work on a range of projects, including a study of the formation of vegetable mold and the role of earthworms in shaping soil ecosystems. In 1881, Darwin published The Formation of Vegetable Mold Through the Action of Worms, a book that explored the complex relationships between earthworms, soil, and plant growth. This work demonstrated Darwin's enduring fascination with the natural world and his recognition of the importance of even the smallest organisms in shaping the characteristics of ecosystems. As Darwin's health continued to decline, he became increasingly frail and was often confined to his bed. Despite this, he remained mentally active and continued to work on his research, albeit at a slower pace. In 1882, he published The Structure and Distribution of Coral Reefs, a book that explored the formation of coral reefs and the role of subsidence in their creation. This work demonstrated Darwin's enduring fascination with geology and his recognition of the importance of gradual processes in shaping the Earth's surface. In the same year, Darwin was awarded the Copley Medal by the Royal Society, a prestigious honor that recognized his outstanding contributions to science. The medal was presented to him at his home, Down House, where he was surrounded by his family and closest friends. Despite his poor health, Darwin was deeply moved by the recognition and saw it as a testament to the enduring power of his ideas. As the news of Darwin's declining health spread, scientists and scholars from around the world began to pay their respects to the man who had revolutionized their understanding of the natural world. In 1882, a delegation of prominent scientists, including Thomas Henry Huxley and Joseph Dalton Hooker, visited Darwin at Down House to express their admiration and gratitude for his work. The visit was a poignant moment in Darwin's life, as he was able to reflect on the impact of his ideas and the community of scholars who had supported him throughout his career. In the months that followed, Darwin's health continued to deteriorate, and he became increasingly weak and frail. On April 19, 1882, Charles Darwin passed away at the age of 73, surrounded by his family at Down House. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the scientific community, and tributes poured in from around the world. Thomas Henry Huxley delivered a eulogy at Darwin's funeral, praising his friend and colleague for his groundbreaking work and his unwavering commitment to the pursuit of knowledge. The aftermath of Darwin's death saw a surge of interest in his work, as scientists and scholars sought to build upon his ideas and explore new areas of research. The theory of evolution through natural selection had become a cornerstone of modern biology, and its implications were being felt across a wide range of disciplines, from geology and paleontology to psychology and anthropology. As the years passed, Darwin's legacy continued to grow, and his name became synonymous with scientific excellence and intellectual curiosity. In 1887, the Linnaean Society published a commemorative volume in honor of Darwin's life and work, featuring contributions from many of the leading scientists of the time. The volume included a detailed biography of Darwin, as well as essays on various aspects of his research, including evolution, botany, and geology. The publication of this volume helped to cement Darwin's reputation as one of the greatest scientists of all time, and it provided a testament to the enduring power of his ideas. As the 19th century drew to a close, the theory of evolution through natural selection had become a fundamental part of the scientific landscape. Scientists such as August Weismann and Hugo de Vries were building upon Darwin's work, exploring new areas of research, and developing new theories about the mechanisms of evolution. The discovery of genetics and the development of modern evolutionary theory were just on the horizon, and it was clear that Darwin's ideas would continue to shape the course of scientific inquiry for generations to come. In 1909, the 100th anniversary of Darwin's birth, a major celebration was held at Cambridge University, featuring lectures, exhibitions, and other events. The celebration was attended by many prominent scientists, including Thomas Henry Huxley's son, Leonard Huxley, who delivered a lecture on the significance of Darwin's work. The event marked a major milestone in the history of evolutionary theory, and it provided an opportunity for scientists to reflect on the impact of Darwin's ideas and the progress that had been made in the field. As the 20th century progressed, Darwin's legacy continued to grow, with new discoveries and advances in fields such as genetics, paleontology, and ecology. The development of modern evolutionary theory, led by scientists such as Ronald Fisher, J.B.S. Haldane, and Sewall Wright, built upon Darwin's foundation and provided a more detailed understanding of the mechanisms of evolution. Today, the theory of evolution through natural selection remains a cornerstone of modern biology, and its implications continue to shape our understanding of the natural world. The ripple effects of Darwin's ideas have resonated across centuries, influencing fields from biology and ecology to philosophy and psychology. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.